The EU parliamentary elections are in full swing, and amazingly, the UK is taking part in these elections. But how will this affect the markets, and what should we expect to see next? To find out more, let's talk to Bob Mason from FX Empire. Bob, thank you very much for joining us. Now, with the delay to Brexit, the UK is taking part in these EU elections. What kind of an impact do you expect this to have on the UK economy?
In spite of the resilience in the UK economy through the first quarter, uncertainty towards what lies ahead would have certainly begun to take effect on the UK economy. We saw claimant counts on the rise in April. We saw wage growth slow in March. And in spite of the jump in retail sales in March, the combination of inflationary pressures and slower wage growth, not to mention political uncertainty, will likely cause households to possibly batten down the hatches a little bit. The EU elections, this week, Britain went to the vote yesterday. That could have some quite drastic effects on the UK economy. The talk is obviously of Theresa May being ousted, even as early as this weekend, with the results of the EU parliamentary elections coming in on Sunday. So plenty of uncertainty. You've got the BOE looking to cut rates to deal with inflationary pressures. Whether that's going to be enough to support the economy remains to be seen. Today, we've got retail sales figures. Those numbers are going to be particularly interesting. We were talking about hoarding last month. So was it really hoarding, or are people still spending? The proof's in the pudding.
Bob, the markets have been paying close attention to the polls this week. Where have the biggest reactions been seen?
Goes without saying that, the British vote will garner plenty of attention come Sunday when the election results are out in the EU. There could well be a material shift in Britain's political landscape. Markets are expecting, the Brexit party to win the majority of the seats if the polls are anything to go by. We're also expecting, such an outcome to lead to Theresa May being, pushed out of number 10. So that then leads on to the domino effect of who takes over. We've seen, the markets react to the talk of Boris Johnson becoming, the head of the leader of the Tory party. No one likes that. He's a pro-Brexiteer, and that really would raise the stakes of a no-deal departure. Maybe not even wait till Halloween for such an event. That would have a material impact on business and investment and even domestic consumption. Near term, the slide in the pound would then see inflationary pressures rise even further. The BOE would need to step in to provide support, but it'll be quite a tough time. You've then got a very slim chance, probably no chance at all, of a pro-Remainer taking over Theresa May's role. Such an outcome wouldn't really reflect the people's vote from the last referendum. It's going to be a very interesting few days coming up.
Finally, Bob, how much of an effect could the turmoil in Britain have on the single currency, and where else in Europe could we expect to see some shake-ups?
The presence of anti-EU MPs in Brussels, is expected to, materially dampen the influence of the establishment in the EU. And that's likely to have a negative impact on the euro. There's been plenty of debate, in recent years over whether the EU can survive, whether the Eurozone can even survive. If the votes go to the way of the polls, we've seen, the rise of the populist and the far right. Some of the countries, such as France, have probably been saved by the structure of, elections and, how Macron won last time and, managed to push away Marine Le Pen. Whether that will translate into the similar outcomes in the EU remains to be seen. Polls suggest not, suggest far more success for the far right, and the populists. That's going to really raise the stakes for the euro and the EU, and whether, there needs to be a material change in the current structure. So election formats have saved the EU and establishment. What's going to happen? If the establishment does lose, hold, as we've seen, Merkel's lost a lot of support. Macron got through by the skin of his teeth. I think the economy is already struggling. Shock EU parliamentary election results is the last thing that Euro needs right now.